Good evening all. Honorable Secretary, Government of India, Shri Raghavendra Rao Garu, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Petrochemicals, Mr. Bishwas, Mr. Devendra Surana, Mr. Vijay Mathur, Mr. Anil Reddy, my good friend, Manoj, and friends from the chemical and petrochemical fraternity. I'm here today incidentally because in the morning we had a meeting with the Chief Secretary where the Honorable Secretary Petrochemicals was present in connection with some other issue, and the Chief Secretary advised me to come here, and since the Secretary Petrochemicals is around from the state government, I was asked to attend this program. I'm very glad to be here, sir. I'm very glad that the Secretary Petrochemicals has taken time and come here to our state and is sparing his time to go around, look into the issues, and probably will be coming again and again to the benefit of the state. As far as the State Industries Department is concerned, you are aware that after the formation of Telangana in 2014, the state has been very keen to develop the industry here. And as part of that, a new industrial policy was launched in 2014 by the Honorable Chief Minister and our Honorable Minister, Mr. K.T. Ramarao. Of course, at the time of launching, there was a different minister, but it's being spearheaded now by Mr. K.T. Ramarao. A very proactive industrial policy, one of the best in the country, with so many incentives, so many advantages over the other states. And also we have this legislation called the Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Scheme, TSIIC, which is backed by the act of the legislature, wherein the mandatory clearances have to be given within the time frame of preferably 15 days to 21 days. Of course, we also keep saying that if the time limit is exceeded, the concerned officer can also be penalized. That is not the spirit of the act, but then the effort is to make our best efforts to give the necessary mandatory clearances for all the industries to enable them to set up the industry as fast as possible, and we trying to handle that situation. I represent the Telangana State Industrial Infrastructure Corporation. This is an offshoot of the earlier Andhra Pradesh Industrial Infrastructure Corporation after a post bifurcation of the state. TSIIC also has been asked of developing the industrial park, which is the primary mandate of the TSIIC. And the Honorable Chief Minister and the Honorable Minister have been kind enough to give directions to the Revenue Department to identify along with us as many industrial areas or as many lands for industrial development as possible. So we have zeroed in on roughly about 1.5 lakh acres of land across the state of Telangana to be developed in phases as industrial parks or given for industrial use to the different industries. So about 5,000-6,000 acres of land has already been. Of course, there are problems, litigations involved in taking over the land and getting it mainstreamed. But nevertheless, we have been making our best effort in developing new industrial parks. Some of the flagship property land to the extent of about 8,000 acres and about 3,000 acres on the NIMZ, National Investment Manufacturing Zone. Similarly, we have a textile park, sir, coming up in Warangal. This is, I think, after the development of the park, will be the biggest of its kind in the country. It's being done on an area of 1,200 acres, and a lot of keen interest has been shown by investors to invest in all these sectors, especially the textile sector. We have commitment from many Korean companies, from some of the Chinese companies, and so on and so forth. In essence, what I mean to say is that the state government are very keen to develop the industry, help the industry to develop themselves, so to say. But I also know there are several issues plaguing the industries, one of them being, I think, the incentives not coming up on time. Even the allotments, my friend Mr. Devendra Surana was telling me about certain issues centered around the pricing of the land being given by the state. We are working around them. I know being a young state, although it's a surplus state, there are also challenges with the prioritization of the issue. So I think I'm very sure the state is seized of these things, and in the years to come, in the next few years, we'll be able to overcome these obstacles also. Coming to the limited area of petrochemicals, or a part of that, the plastic industry, which Anil Reddy garu was just mentioning. I also mentioned, sir, briefly in the morning when in the presence of Chief Secretary, that we have submitted a proposal. I just handed over a copy of that to our Joint Secretary, sir. We would request, because I have been pursuing that in the ministry also, sir, earlier, and the reason given was that in the budget flow, I think sufficient funds were not allocated. We have identified this stretch of 120 acres close to Hyderabad in Ibrahimpatnam, at a place called Mankal. There is sufficient land there, sir, although we have allotted to some of the industry there, but to develop this plastic park, it will be a very one of its kind plastic park if Government of India is coming forth. If it can be shortlisted at least this year. Pardon, sir? It's basically a kind of a brownfield, sir. Most of the existing industry would be relocated there. Mr. Anil Reddy, in fact, spearheads that sector. So I would call you on, sir, sometime when I frequent Delhi almost every fortnight for with all the departments of the ministry. Apart from that, any other help that the State Industry Department would be requiring, I earnestly appeal to you all to, of course, my Principal Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, is well known to all of you, to all your FICCI associates. One of the most proactive secretary that one can come across in any state. We would be more than pleased to take up any of these issues, the issues coming up. And finally, the India CHEM, the 10th edition of India CHEM, which have the scale and the size of the show, I am really marveled by it. I wish the organizers of both FICCI and the ministry and all the organizers the very best in the success of the program, and we would definitely be participating in that, and in what scale and what size I will discuss with our Principal Secretary, and we'll come back to that to FICCI and the ministry. I once again thank the organizers today for giving me the opportunity, and I thank once again our Secretary, Government of India, for making it to this occasion. Thank you, sir.